All right. I'm going to slow this clip down and play it back. You see Dowell coming to the morning service, and he has one security guard in front of him, the other one in the back. Okay, he does this intentionally because he knows people are watching and he wants the viewers to see. But there's not as much security for the women and children, if you notice. Okay, most of the women are standing by idle and separate from their husbands, if they have any husband. And this is before service begins. By now, most of you are aware that Pastor Dowell is married to another man's wife. So this explains why he needs so much security. Okay, he uses the Old Testament to repackage his own account of polygyny where a man has more than one wife. Leviticus chapter 17:11 says life of the flesh is in the blood. Okay, we are living in a fallen state where the bloodlines of men are tainted with sin to the degree where in Matthew chapter 24:12, Christ said, because lawlessness will abound, the love of many will wax cold. But guys like Pastor Dowell and Rufus Carswell, they teach that men are not lawless and men lack sexual immorality. Now, did they say that out their own mouth? No. Okay, but that's really what they're teaching to support polygyny. Okay, they're teaching that they are righteous enough to uphold the ancient practice of polygyny without the death penalty for adulterers. Think about that. The apple don't fall too far from the tree. Birds of the feather flock together. Rufus and his pet wolf protege, Ryan, they just departed from Straightway last year. But the damage is already done because Dowell taught them everything they know according to his twisted version of the scriptures. All right. He was their teacher. So they physically left Straightway, but Straightway is still in them. Welcome to Face and Gates Ministries. Make sure you rate, comment, subscribe, and share the video to support this hardcore truth.
I remember when I was telling my testimony in that tabernacle that one day where Dowell cut me off midway. And I believe that Becker was absolutely upset about that because I never thanked Straightway Truth Ministries. I never thanked Pastor Dowell. I never thanked anyone that was a part of that ministry for the things that the Father brought me through, that the Most High Yah brought me through. But every year during Passover, for some reason, they want to have a uplifting or praise or a exhortation of Straightway Truth Ministries and Pastor Dowell. Everybody going up there thanking Pastor Dowell, thanking Straightway, thanking this and that, and exalting a ministry and a man, where here's me stepping up there, standing up there and exalting the Most High Yahweh and not even mentioning a ministry, just the individuals he sent to me to help me along my journey.
Now, this stage playing hypocrite came to Straightway with his wife and mother, two married women at the time, and they both left as divorced women. Okay, his mother, Sister Shay, refuses to explain exactly what happened with her husband, meaning there's a chance that she has much to hide. Okay, they say he was not there for her, but the book says she's to remain unmarried and not go from house to house speaking things which she ought not. Okay, so her presence at Straightway was a problem to begin with, because the scriptures say avoid the appearance of evil. Okay, so if you're a married woman and your husband has not put you away, which I don't think that would be something so difficult to testify on, okay, because her husband would be at fault. Nevertheless, this woman still supports the false doctrine of polygyny. Okay, in other words, she supports women sleeping with a married man. From the perspective of the woman who supports polygyny, that's really what that is. Okay, you're supporting a woman sleeping with a married man, although 1 Corinthians chapter 7 verse 2 says, let every man have his own wife and every woman her own husband because of sexual immorality. Okay, so I'm at the point now where I will recycle those scriptures that I presented months ago. Okay, when this whole issue between me and Barack erupted. All right. I came to him with scriptures. He got butthurt and turned it personal. Okay, that's what happened. Okay, but I'm going to continue to present these scriptures because a lot of people in the comments, a lot of people on his platform, they want to know the truth. Okay, it's just many of these people are lost. Okay, and they never heard anyone break this down to them. Okay, this woman, Sister Shay, his mother, talks about being in her 50s. And look, that has nothing to do with her misleading the younger women to lay with another woman's husband. Okay, this is a problem, right? Black women are accepting this false doctrine of polygyny for one of two reasons, maybe even both. Okay. Either they have low self esteem and they don't believe that they'll ever marry a husband in their lifetime, or they just want a man to take care of them. Again, or potentially both. Okay. So now this guy, Ryan, who goes by the name of Barack, he was kicked out of the Straightway, Michigan Assembly and allegedly voluntarily departed from the Houston Assembly because he came there with an agenda. Okay, he was desperate to bounce back from his ex-wife leaving him after they joined Straightway. Okay, and that led to him bumping heads with the brethren at the Houston Assembly over women they didn't give him permission to speak to. Okay, he was aware that he could not do that because he agreed to the policies of Straightway and how they do things over there. Okay, so when he went back to Straightway for Passover and gave his testimony, Pastor Dowell was aware of the problems that this guy was causing in the ministry. Okay, and when it concerns the women, Dowell believes the women are his property, as I've established on this channel on multiple occasions. Okay, so Dowell made a public example of Ryan so that the other men would be careful not to go rogue like he did. Okay, but you heard him say that he stood up and exalted the Most High while giving his testimony. Well, how can you exalt the Most High when you believe contrary to what is presented in the scriptures, in his word? Okay, how can you rep the Most High when you speak often with a lying tongue? Okay, another thing is this guy does not understand the dynamics of Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit and how Jesus Christ is God. I politely explained to him, look, you do not know what you're talking about. Okay, you're not equipped to teach the scriptures, period. Okay, you don't know the Bible. So exposing Dowell in a way, I can see how it has become his gospel and he fails to even do that. Okay, his ex-wife told him she was going to marry another man at Straightway, the place where he, as the head of his household, he led that woman there. Okay, and it turns out she sent him an image of his daughter laying on another man's lap. Why is this important? Because witnesses have testified of how there is child abuse at Straightway, and there's reason to believe that Ryan doesn't know where his kids are at. Okay, his ex-wife wouldn't send him a message like that if he knew where this man lives. Okay, where he can go and address him. All right, and who knows how this man runs his household. Okay, would you, the viewer, would you want another man using a belt or any instrument to whip your kids? Okay, because this is what Dowell has programmed the men at Straightway to do.
Understanding them, understanding that the Father is the one who's going to strengthen you. You understand what I'm saying? The spiritual attacks are real, and the weapons that are formed against you will not prosper. Your faith is what matters. My faith during that time is saying, I accept my faith for what it is, but Father, protect me and guide me. You understand what I'm saying? I'm ready. Moved mountains. But he said, what? If you have faith, what? Of a grain of mustard seed. Of a grain of mustard seed, your faith. And I'm learning afterwards that my mother was praying. That's a young lady that was there. She was praying. Both head covering. Praying.
What do you mean head covering? The scriptures speak about head covering. It's talking about a woman having her husband there to cover her. Okay, where is Sister Shay's husband? Okay, you never answer the questions. Her prayers for you are in vain because she believes in false doctrine, much like yourself.
Asking for these devils to flee. Repenting for anything that was done wrong. And he moved. He moved in the favor. Have faith. Have faith in the Most High. Yeah, they can't stop us. They cannot stop us, regardless on how they feel about it. We're still producing truth.
You're not producing truth. You're a liar. You still believe a man can have multiple wives with all the scriptures I gave you. Okay, this guy is not in the truth. And that's why you hardly ever hear him or Rufus give a thorough teaching on doctrine. Okay, the word is not in them. Right now, Dowell knows the truth. He just refuses to teach it. Okay, Dowell was married to one woman for 27 years. Okay, then he fell into temptation and changed his position on polygyny, divorce, and remarriage. Okay, so he shall receive the greater judgment. Okay, because in his own way, he's misled these men on their path to the lake of fire as well. Okay, now, as always, I will make sure we have some biblical context to what constitutes sexual immorality. Okay, now were the men in the old covenant sexually immoral? Yes. But God gave them a penal system and consecrations for them to keep from the Gentile nations. Okay, because the bloodlines were never meant to be mixed after the serpent seed corrupted the bloodlines of men. Okay, so let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 7. Then we're going to go to Numbers chapter 25. Okay, Deuteronomy chapter 7, starting off at verse 1. It says, when the Lord your God brings you into the land which you go to possess, and has cast out many nations before you, the Hittites, and the Girgashites, and the Amorites, and the Canaanites, and the Perizzites, and the Hivites, and the Jebusites, 7 nations greater and mightier than you. And when the Lord your God delivers them over to you, you shall conquer them and utterly destroy them. You shall make no covenant with them, nor show mercy to them, nor shall you make marriages with them. You shall not give your daughter to their son, nor take their daughter for your son. Did the Israelites listen? No, they did not. Okay, and the Most High had to evict them from the land of Israel, the promised land. Okay, the land of Israel, there was a lease agreement between the Israelites and the Most High. Okay, the 12 sons of Jacob. All right, Jacob, the grandson of Abraham and the son of Isaac. Jacob had 12 sons. He had more sons than his grandfather and his father. Okay, so this was all by the hand of God. Be fruitful and multiply. This was strategically done. This was a sovereign move by God. God never meant for men to continue this practice forever. Okay, he would have had the Israelites obeyed, but as we see here, they did not. Or as we'll read in the book of Numbers, chapter 25, they did not. Okay, let's continue in verse 4. He says, for they will turn your sons away from me, away from following me, to serve other gods. So the anger of the Lord will be aroused against you and destroy you suddenly. But thus you shall deal with them. You shall destroy their altars and break down their sacred pillars and cut their wooden images and burn their carved images with fire. Verse 6, for you are a holy people to the Lord your God. The Lord your God has chosen you to be a people for himself, a special treasure above all the peoples on the face of the earth. The Lord did not set his love on you, nor choose you because you were more in number than any other people. For you were the least of all peoples, but because the Lord loves you, and because he would keep the oath which he swore to your fathers, the Lord has brought you out with a mighty hand and redeemed you from the house of bondage, from the hand of Pharaoh, king of Egypt. Therefore know that the Lord your God, he is God, the faithful God, who he keeps the covenant. The Israelites broke the covenant. Okay, but God kept covenant and mercy for 1,000 generations with those who love him and keep his commandments. And he repays those who hate him to their face to destroy them. He will not be slack with him who hates him. He will repay to his face. Therefore, you should keep the commandments and judgments and statutes. Command you today to observe them. See, the Most High just was thorough and transparent with the Israelites, but they disobeyed. All right, let's go to the book of Numbers, chapter 25. All right, Numbers chapter 25, starting off at verse 1. It says, now Israel remained in Acacia Grove, and the people began to commit harlotry with the women of Moab. They invited the people to the sacrifices of their gods, and the people ate and bowed down to their gods. So Israel was joined to Baal of Peor, and the anger of the Lord was aroused against Israel. Verse 4, then the Lord said to Moses, take all the leaders of the people and hang the offenders before the Lord out in the sun, that the fierce anger of the Lord may turn away from Israel. So Moses said to the judges of Israel, Every one of you kill his men who were joined to Baal of Peor. See, back then people got killed for harlotry. They got stoned to death for adultery. Okay, they got hung for harlotry. Okay, verse 6. And indeed, one of the children of Israel came and presented to his brethren a Midianite woman in the sight of Moses and in the sight of all the congregation of the children of Israel, who were weeping at the door of the tabernacle of meeting. Now, when Phinehas, the son of Eleazar, the son of Aaron the priest, saw it, he rose from among the congregation and took the javelin in his hand, and he went after the man of Israel into the tent and thrust both of them through, the man of Israel and the woman through her body. So the plague was stopped among the children of Israel. And those who died in the plague were 24,000. Now look at this. 24,000 people died because of the sin of the children of Israel, committing harlotry with the women of Moab. You see that? So God commanded them not to mate with those foreign women. And he did that for a reason, not only because they served other gods, but because of what was in them. The iniquity, remember the scriptures say the iniquity was found in Lucifer. Okay, Lucifer, the son of the morning. So when the iniquity is found in them, then that's what initiates that rebellion. Okay, they can't commit rebellion against the Most High unless the sin is inside of them. What is proof that the sin is inside of them? The corrupted bloodlines of men. Okay, that's why the scriptures say he who commits fornication sins against his own body. He's sinning against his own bloodline. That's why sin is judged through the bloodline as well. God visits the iniquity of the father down to the children, down to the third and fourth generations. All right. So when you keep doing this over the course of 6,000 years, ever since the fall of Adam, now you have generations upon generations of degenerates in a fallen state. Okay. With a weakened bloodline. All right. Their faith is impacted by the weakness of their bloodline. You see what I'm saying? Without faith, it's impossible to please God. That's why under the new covenant, he says, do not be unequally yoked with unbelievers. Well, what happens when an overwhelming majority of people throughout these generations are unbelievers? You see what I'm saying? So now you're giving birth. When you give birth, it's actually the opposite of what Abraham did, because most people were actually believers during the time of Abraham, at least the children of Israel that God had consecrated. But now in this matriarchal matrix that we're living in, this matriarchal fallen state, when a man practices polygyny, he's taking on women, and that woman who seeks to get a husband is risking her entire family's future by marrying an unbeliever. Now, although the scriptures say your children are not unclean by the union of that marriage with an unbeliever, but the outcome of their belief, whether or not they're going to grow up, train up a child in the way they should go, and walk in the ways, the statutes, the ordinance of the Most High, the likelihood of that happening is slim to none. This is what the Most High was trying to avoid altogether. So if a husband wants to take on multiple wives and disobey the laws and statutes and commandments of the Most High, particularly in 1 Corinthians chapter 7, verse 2, now he's risking taking on multiple wives and unbelievers and all the curses that are associated with their bloodline. You see what I'm saying? So God, from the beginning of time, warned man not to have children unless they're going to be fruitful and multiply. Okay. But come the new covenant, Christ, again, as I said in several videos, Christ said this is a wicked and adulterous generation. What did he say? He said, because the love of many will wax cold, lawlessness will abound. Okay. And this is the dispensation that we're in to this day. Okay, what did Christ say of Judas? He said it'd be better if he was never born. Do you think he was just speaking to Judas? No, he was not. He was speaking to Rufus Carswell. He was speaking to Ryan. All right. He was speaking to Dirty Low Dowell. These are all degenerate men. Now, can they repent? Yes, but it's by a long shot. They're set in their wickedness and they're bound for the lake of fire. God can restore anyone. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying these men are condemned automatically to hell. But if they continue to preach the false doctrine of polygyny, yes, they are going to the lake of fire. Make no mistake about it. As for him saying that I was degrading his mother, speaking about his mother in a derogatory way, listen very carefully to what I'm saying. If a man or a woman is teaching men and women that they can go out and practice polygyny, that the women can go and marry another woman's husband, they're teaching nothing different than prostitution. Okay. So yes, I'm going to call her a sexually immoral woman. Okay. It doesn't matter if she herself is involved in a relationship. Matter of fact, it's worse for her if she was to keep quiet and just keep to herself and practice polygyny and never come on anybody's channel and never have a wrench on even on her son's channel. Okay, that would be different. But again, for her to be out here publicly agreeing with her son and these false prophets that polygyny is biblical, I'm talking about Sister Shay. Okay, she's a sexually immoral person. All right, that's no different than a madame. Okay, a madame who's over a ring of prostitutes and she's leading those prostitutes to a pimp. Okay. Or she herself is taking a cut, or she works in a strip club and she's hosting the whole event. It doesn't matter. It's no different from a polygynous household or anyone who's out here on these public channels on YouTube saying that they support polygyny, because it's not biblical. And I've proven it that it was not biblical. God said whoremongers he will judge. Okay. That doesn't only mean those who practice it with their bodies. All right. And we could talk about body count in another video. You have to look at the history of the woman. But anyway, I'm telling you this the truth because people want to know about it. All right. Dowell and all his wives, they're on the path to the lake of fire. That is no different than prostitution. Anyone who tries to repackage polygyny in this modern, wicked, fallen state of men, in this matriarchal matrix, prostitution is what they're practicing. And the Bible says it. All right. That's all I got for this video, guys. Let me know your thoughts in the comments and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.